Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing Who Was Better. The topic for this Who Was Better? Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. If you haven't seen my videos previously, we grade the wrestlers on 1 to 5 scales in 8 different categories, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. At the end we total up those points. There is a chance to get 5 bonus points, which we'll talk about at the end. With that being said, let's jump right in with the first category, technical wrestling. Now this is going to be your suplexes, your submissions, basically most of what happens between the ropes. For Randy Savage, I'm giving him a 5. I think he is absolutely awesome here. It's very hard to argue with him. He's one of the greats of all time, so he gets a 5. For Steamboat, he's getting a 5 as well. When you think of some of the greatest wrestling matches of the 1980s, Ricky Steamboat's name keeps coming up over and over and over again. Whether it be him and Youngblood versus the Briscoes, him versus Savage, him versus Ric Flair, or any other of the many amazing matches the man had, he's one of the GOATs of his generation. Now going to our second category, striking. This is basically, as you can see, your punches, your kicks, clotheslines, a strike. For this, Savage again is going to get a 5. And when you think about it, his finishing move is basically a flying elbow, technically a strike. Along with everything else, there was just so much believability with what Savage did in the ring. It's hard to give him any negative points here. For Ricky Steamboat, Steamboat's getting a 5 as well. We're comparing 2 of the best in-ring performers of their generation. It's very hard to give them any negative as far as the in-ring considered. I think they're both awesome. They both are doing fantastic. I mean, they're both, like I said, 2 of the best wrestlers of their generation. Next up, how they perform as a heel. For Savage, Savage is getting a 5. He is one of the quintessential heels of his time, whether it be in the Mega Powers feud, or even before that when he was going up against Steamboat or Santana, or any of the other baby faces of that generation. He just went out of his way, knocked it out of the park. His run with Sherry Martel as a Macho King, I mean, he's just legendary, basically. For Steamboat, I don't think that Steamboat was ever a heel at any point in his career. I'm pretty sure he's not, but whenever I say something with absolute, someone will bring up in 1975 in Florida, he was a heel for a month and a half. Because there's nothing to base this on, I have to give him a 3. I can't say he was good, I can't say he was bad. I don't really have a basis to go off of. So for that, I'm going to give him a 3 right in the middle, because I don't know. There's no evidence out there. How they perform as a babyface. That is our next category. The Savage, he's going to get a 5 as well. When given the opportunity either to be the world champion from WrestleMania 4 or even later into his career in WCW, Savage proved he was equally as effective as a babyface as he would be as a heel. For that, I mean, again, the guy is top-notch. He's Randy Savage. For Steamboat, you have to know this is coming. This is the easiest 5 I've probably ever given. Ricky Steamboat is among the Mount Rushmore of babyfaces. I would say you have to put him, Tito Santana, Kofi Kingston, and I don't even know who you put for as being the 4 greatest babyfaces of all time. But yeah, he's quintessential babyface. The measuring bar for what a babyface should be. He's the guy, if I went higher than a 5, he'd probably get a higher score, but unfortunately, he's limited to the 5. Now going into our next category, promos. Randy Savage is a 5. I mean, as a wrestling fan, you know, and you could probably quote several different Macho Man promos. You could see him holding up the little cup of creamer, talking about the cream rising to the top. You can hear him talking about Hulk Hogan has lust in his eyes. Any of the million different promos he's done, he's one of the best that's all time to do it. For Steamboat, unfortunately, Steamboat's getting a 3 here. If there was one huge weakness in Ricky Steamboat's game, it was his promo ability. And it's not to say that he was bad. It's just saying that he was average. I mean, to me, a Ricky Steamboat promo is no better than, let's say, a Killer Bees promo or a Kerry Von Erich promo. It's not the best. It works what he's doing, but he's not a guy that's going to light the world on fire in his promos. Next up, presentation. For presentation, both men are getting a 5. I mean, they're 2 of the iconic looks again of the generation. If you think about it, even if you go to the silly, cartoony Ricky the Dragon era of the late 80s where he wore the dragon outfit and brought the kimono dragon to the ring and blew fire, even that was kind of awesome. For it being silly, it was still pretty dang cool. And if you think of Savage and the sequence robes and all of that, I mean, how can you go wrong? These guys were presented exactly perfectly. They looked amazing. That's why they both get 5s here. For charisma, again, they're both going to get a 5. I understand if you're looking at me and you're giving these guys such high marks, but when you think about it, can you name 5 better wrestlers from the 1980s in any metric you could think of? I mean, you put these guys right up there with Dusty Rhodes, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, anything you want to compare about in the 80s, these guys are right there in the top of those lists as well. So, I mean, obviously, they're both extremely charismatic. Ricky's was a little bit differently. Macho Man had that manic energy, where Ricky the Dragon Steamboat felt like someone that you could be a friend with, someone that you would have a drink down at the bar with, or if you needed somebody in a pinch to watch your dog because you had to go out of town, Steamboat would be that guy. Now, our last category, big game performers. Basically, how do you handle when you're in a big match situation, main event of a pay-per-view, main event of a house show, main event of a TV show. When you're called upon to be your very best, how do you handle it? Both these guys are getting a 5. And I know, like I said, I'm giving very high scores to these guys over and over. There's no doubt that these are 2 of the best wrestlers of the 80s. And the rest of their careers as well. For both of them, that spans from the 70s all the way into the 90s. And Savage, I think, did make it a little bit into the 2000s. Yeah, he definitely made it into the early 2000s. But you can't argue these are 2 of the best big game performers of all time. Just think about this. When we talk about WrestleMania 3, we talk about 2 matches. Hogan and Andre, which is probably the biggest spectacle of all time, and Savage and Steamboat, which is probably one of the best matches of all time. So yeah, how can you really go against either man getting a high score here? From that, we're going to go into our total. For Randy Macho Man Savage, he has got the first, since I've been doing these, the first perfect score. Savage gets a 40. For Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Steamboat gets a 36, a very high score. And in a lot of lists that I've done, he would have beat out his competition. But unfortunately, Savage has a perfect score, and I'm a little bit shocked, but not totally shocked at that, because, I mean, he is Randy Macho Man Savage. But yeah, he's absolutely killed it here. Now, I did mention in the beginning, there is a chance for bonus points. And what we do for that, on our community page on the YouTube channel, we put out a poll every Wednesday, and basically whoever wins the poll gets 5 bonus points. So as you can see here, it could swing this if they were to vote for Steamboat. In this case, with almost 700 votes, the Macho Man Randy Savage won. So it did not change the outcome. It does move him up to 45, which is an absolute perfect score. I don't know that anybody else is ever going to get that high of a score. And it's not that I'm such a super Macho Man fan, which I am a huge Macho Man fan, but I just can't think of anybody as well-rounded as Savage. I mean, there's nothing that he has a flaw in. You can't think of a flaw in his game at all. If anything, it's out of the ring stuff that you would think it might be a flaw. With that being said, I am going to give you a little hint at what our next one is going to be. And it's 2 men that went to summer camp together. And if you know the lore of wrestling storylines, you know there's 2 wrestlers that famously went to summer camp together, so that should give it away to you. If you look on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, you'll see the poll on our page, so you can vote in that. If you want your favorite to win, make sure you get in there and vote. I do want to mention here at the end, this coming week, the state of Florida is about to be hit by Hurricane Milton. I live in the state of Florida. We were just hit by Hurricane Helene, which did a lot of damage here and in the Tennessee and North Carolina and even Virginia area. I know a lot of friends in that area that took a ton of damage. Asheville has taken a very large hit there. So if you don't see any videos coming up, that's the reason. I will try to keep everybody posted on the community page on how we're doing here in case you get worried. With that being said, if you pray to God, say your prayers for people in this area, say your thoughts, we can use all the positive energy we can. It looks to be a major storm at this point, and it looks to be coming in right around the Tampa Bay area, which usually gets smashed by hurricanes, and a lot of that area is still being affected from the hurricane a week ago. So keep your thoughts and prayers for the people of Florida Florida because we're about to go through another huge hurricane. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and you've been watching another Who Was Better.